This is Oswego, where the river goes into the Lake Ontario. I don't know, this looks like there's a white lighthouse way out there. Doubt you can get to it, but except for by boat, maybe. And then there's a fort over here. We'll go into the fort. Looks like one section there either fell down or something, who knows. They got it. Some wood representing where the stone used to be. Earthworks and Officers Row at Fort Ontario on Lake Ontario. Cutting across here to one of the points of the, I don't know if it's a 5-star or 4-star, 4-pointed fort. The close-up of the stones. It's like very rough hewn on the higher ones, but the first level are pretty flush. Built by English under Governor Shirley. Surely he must have been the one that built it. Okay, looks like the entrance. The proverbial parade grounds, open area. There you are. It's okay to film?
Yeah, it should be fine.
He needs to be filmed. You too.
Yeah. All right.
Cool uniform.
So one.
Cap will go here,
Yeah.
and then hammer forward, smack. The cap will go pop, and then the black powder will go boom.
Yeah. What is the time delay on it?
Negligible.
Oh, okay.
Like
really
half
not
a
that
second,
much.
maybe?
Hmm?
Like half a second?
Don't really notice it.
So it's,
I mean,
it
it's
fires right into the powder chamber. So
yeah, it's
it's
there's
not like a flintlock.
yeah, there's it's like a little chamber here that'll go down and it'll bounce into where the powder is.
Yeah. Okay.
That's where you put the cap, yeah.
Yep. If you would like, I can demonstrate loading and firing.
Sure.
All right, here. You can go on this side of me. Because I'm going to be aiming that way. That's generally how I do it. Do you want to follow along, or do you just want to watch? We're training him up.
I just started here. I'm not old enough to have the actual thing. Gotta wait like 2 years for that.
Do you want to follow along?
Yeah, sure.
Alright. So what I got here is the model 1861 Springfield rifle musket. This is what the Union carried throughout the Civil War. Excuse me. So this is a percussion lock weapon, which is one of those caps I just showed you. Here, I just explained all that. So that all is what makes this a percussion lock gun. It's also a rifle musket, so I load from the top, and it's rifled on the inside, which means there are grooves that make the bullet spin like a football. Like when a pro throws it, you know, it spirals and it goes directly where he wants it to. But if, say, like a 5-year-old throws it and it doesn't spiral, it'll go wherever. The same theory applies to bullets. So bullets without that spin will go wherever, but with that spin, it'll pretty much hit whatever you want within reason. And that's what makes these guns a lot more accurate than what they had during, say, the Revolutionary War or the French and Indian Wars. So what I'll be demonstrating is a drill called loading in 9 times, because there are 9 different steps to load and fire this rifle. So I'll begin with the orders. Loading 9 times. Load. So I'll bring the rifle down so I can get to the muzzle, and my hand goes in my cartridge box. Handle cartridge. You don't open it yet. You gotta wait until handle to open it. Take out paper cartridge. Back in the day, it would have had bullet and then wadding on top, and then powder on top of all of that. I just have the powder. Tear cartridge. So I'll tear off the top of the cartridge so I can get into the black powder. And then charge cartridge. Pour the powder down the barrel. And then stick the rest of the cartridge in the muzzle. Draw rammer. Take out my ram rod. Ram down cartridge. Push everything down to the bottom of the barrel. Tap it in tight. Return rammer. Right. So I'll take out that cap I showed you. So, as I said, what's going to happen is when I pull the trigger, hammer's going to go forward. It's going to smack that cap. It's going to make a little explosion, which is going to go down to where the powder is, and that's going to set off the powder and make a boom. Carry arms to the left, face forward. Right, face. Let's go forward. Then the final orders to shoot will be ready. Aim. Fire. Cover arms. Arms. That's the one fire the 1861 Springfield.
Thank you. So is that fire a mini ball?
Yep, it would.
Okay.
Obviously, I don't have one.
It was, it's rifled, but it's still shooting a mini ball.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, the ball is actually a conical bullet.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah. It's called a ball just because it's all lead.
Yeah.
And that was the terminology.
And
But
it's
actually a
concave on the
When
back.
they went to rifling, they made them longer, more like a
bullet.
My vitamin
It looks like a
pill.
bullet nowadays.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Somewhat.
Oh, with actually pointy ended.
Yeah,
Well, somewhat.
it's more of a rounded end, but it looks similar to a bullet, and
Yeah,
it does
okay.
have that concave.
And the-
And actually, the purpose of that is they made the ball undersized. So this is a 58 caliber barrel. The balls they made were .575. So, where this was .58 of an inch, the other was .575, so it's .005 smaller. And that concave would, when the powder ignites, force it to expand and grip the rifling, so that you could slide the ball down the barrel, and instead of, with like a round ball, you would have to engrave the rifling on the way down,
Ah, yeah.
which takes significantly more effort. Whereas this, I've actually fired a couple, and it just falls right down the barrel.
But they have an opening at the back that then spreads.
Yeah, there's like a little concave inlet
Yeah.
on the back that when the gases from the powder ignite, it forces it to expand.
It pops it open.
Yeah, just that little bit that's required.
It only needs 5,000s.
Yeah.
And yeah, cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. At first they used like a copper peg and then a wooden peg in the back there, and then they realized they didn't even need that much. And by the time of the Civil War, they're not even using anything in the back. It's just straight lead.
Just a little a space in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, lead's pretty soft.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well,
Did they call it mini or did they call it like minier?
so
Americans probably
it
said it.
depends on the source.
Yeah.
The name of the ball comes from the French captain Minier,
Yeah, okay.
who invented that style of bullet. Now, of course, we Americans are very
Yeah.
apt for adapting things to the way we say things.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the American War, you know, you'll see like the Burton cartridge. That was like the official name of it. And then the mini ball is like the Americanized version of Minier. So mini and Minier, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just how you pronounce it, really.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
So is that wool that you're wearing?
Yes, all of it is wool.
What about the undershirt? Is that linen or wool?
You have a.
I want a linen
Which one
shirt.
is this?
Yeah.
This is just cotton.
It's cotton. The weaver at Williamsburg said cotton's bad, you need to get linen. And I was like, now I want a linen shirt.
Yeah.
I haven't really noticed.
What I have too, they have a issued shirt, actually, that every man had that I can't fit into. I don't know why you didn't go issue shirt, but
I just got
it's
it.
just too small for me. The issued shirt is too small to fit around my neck, and we do have evidence of, you know, there was a soldier who was a big guy like me who had to get his shirts sent from home because the army issued ones didn't fit.
They think that they want to keep people one size fits all.
Yep. And
42nd.
Then you get the outlier.
Did yours say 42nd also?
Yep.
42nd.
So we represent privates of F Company, 42nd U.S. Infantry, stationed here 1868 to 69. We were part of what was called the Veterans Reserve Corps. So this was for wounded veterans of the Civil War, pretty much to give these guys a job. They're stationed at backline posts like Fort Ontario, where, you know, we're not expecting any fights.
Right now
So,
they call you a ramp. In the rear with the gear.
yeah.
Go ahead.
But yeah, so we're backline where we're not expecting any fighting, so that, you know, pretty much the army is giving these guys jobs because these are guys who, you know, one of them got a chunk taken out of his waist. You know, some of them might have amputated legs. Our lieutenant colonel had his right arm amputated after the Battle of Chancellorsville, where he got shot there. So he's here with only one arm. And you got men like that who, they're still kind of fit for service, and they're veteran soldiers.
Yeah. You got
And
your
so
trigger
they can
finger.
Hold, you know, they can hold places like this, and we don't need them to fight. And that frees up space for the fit young guys who are really good at fighting to go sent out to where we're fighting during this era, which is the Indian Wars in the Midwest and the Pacific. And we're still contending with the Native American tribes out there. You know, and we're not concerned with the British attacking from across the lake, because we're about to sign the 1870 Treaty of Washington with them, which what that does is it demilitarizes the Great Lakes, and we take most of the warships off of them. And it's really one of the first few steps that gets, you know, America and Canada and Britain to the friendship that where we really start cultivating during the First World War and comes to a bloom during the Second, and that we have now. So this is like the first baby steps towards that.
Okay. Somewhat of a détente.
Is 1840s, so Mexican-American War. And then over here is 1868 and 69, so my period. And that period is what you'll find the rest of the building set up to look like.
This one on the left, yeah.
The left, and then the mess hall that's through there, and then all of the other buildings are set up for 68 and 69. The reason for that is because that's when F Company is here. And the reason why we choose that is because that's when the two guardhouses were completed in 1867 and 68 respectively. And so, you know, F Company 42nd was here when all of this was finished. And so everything that's here, they would have seen.
Okay, cut.
Which has been restoring the forest circa 1868. In 1989, the nonprofit group Friends of Fort Ontario was formed.
Looks like a 50. millimeter mortar. We had 50s. Maybe it's a 60. It's another powder horn. Top level of this building. This is a 5-pointed star shed, the fort. This is the modern, not modern, but later age barracks. And this is the earlier age barracks. Iron bunks were installed late 1867 or early 68. They'd wear pretty quick.
I mean, yeah. We have the powder magazine where the ammunition for the muskets and the cannons were stored. The entrance is on this side because if it were to ever detonate, the explosion would go into the wall rather than out here, and the most it would really do is shatter all the windows in the fort. This is officers' quarters number 1. That is where our officers would live, eat, and sleep. So this fort's actually designed for 2 companies who would be up in the barracks, but in the time that F company's here, we're the only company here. So the way it's set up, whereas if there were 2 companies here, both of the officers' quarters would be for officers of one company and then the other. Whereas when there's just one here, they're both living in that house. They have it split down the middle.
Oh, okay.
And then that's the officers' privy where they use the bathroom,
Yeah.
instead of having to either use
The white
common,
building to the left.
Yeah. Instead of having to use the common urinal or having to go out to the latrine.
Yeah.
They had their own thing right
The
there.
brown building there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what that is. Well, that's the coal shed. That's where they stored the fuel for the fires in the winter.
Oh, this is a coal shed here.
Yep.
Okay. And what's the third building?
So this one, when the time we're here, that is the quartermaster's office and the company office. So basically, the officers decided to live in number 1 and work in number 2. And so the quartermaster's there. The Army engineers are also here. They have a couple expeditions to map the Great Lakes, especially Erie and Ontario from here. They're also actively constructing the fort. When we're here,
Got to give them something to do. Keep them busy.
yeah. Well, they're still building up the stone walls by the time we're here, and when that treaty is signed, Congress decides to stop construction because don't need to put money into a fort that's we're not going to use.
Yeah. So what I noticed on the fort, it's smooth up to about 3 feet, and then it's rough hewn after that. Why is that?
Like the stone.
The
itself,
stone
like
on the
over
outside,
here.
yeah, and the facing. It's like rock climbing material. You could just climb it up if you're a rock climber.
It's you know what it is? It's to deflect bullets.
Oh, okay.
So it's shaped so that rounds will flick off and more than likely try to go back at whoever shot it.
Ricochet. Okay.
And when it ricochets, that's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
It must be a French word, ricochet. They always have
I'm
these
sure.
long words.
I mean, we use the word rendezvous, and that's French.
Rendezvous, yeah. Or like Cornell,
Yeah.
Colonel.
Yeah. Capitan.
A lot of that's Napoleon, battalion. He
Yeah.
did a lot of. The British tried to make him out like he was crazy, but he was the best general in the whole world ever.
If not, he's a very close contender for the top spot.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get the top spot, I'm a massive Napoleon nerd, so
Yeah, I put him number 1.
You are not alone.
He's number 1.
Yeah, and I mean another example.
Washington's down there on the bottom.
Washington. despite how people think of him, he wasn't that great.
Lost all the battles, but won the war.
I mean, don't get me wrong, he wasn't incompetent, but he wasn't like one of the greats. He was a pretty good orator, and he was a pretty good statesman.
Yeah.
But
And an organizer of the whole army.
yeah, he did great organizing and that kind of thing. He wasn't a terribly great strategist or tactician.
Yeah.
But that's only, a quarter of what a general actually has to do.
He's kind of like Eisenhower in that respect.
And by that point, that's
Eisenhower
all Eisenhower had to do was make sure everyone was in the right place.
He was a colonel when the war started.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, 5-star.
Yeah, I mean, same for Washington. He was
Yeah.
in
Well,
the French and Indian War. He was a lieutenant colonel.
yeah. He showed up. He showed up dressed for the part. So they're like, "Hey, you should be the general. You look like a general. You're tall. You got a uniform. You got the job."
And actually, speaking of uniforms, we actually, because we had different uniforms in the Mexican-American War,
Yeah.
the standard infantry uniform is like, it was sort of, it's basically the main difference between these uniforms and the Mexican-American War uniforms is the coat and the hat.
Yeah.
Because
And then we had buff leather.
yeah,
Or white.
Yeah, and in the Mexican-American War, they had basically a what's called a shell jacket. It basically had like a much higher collar. It came up to about
That collar didn't have
Nobody-
quite the long skirts.
Nobody probably liked that collar. I bet.
Oh, I'm sure they hated it.
yeah, and like the
With the
and
frock coats that we have,
Yeah.
the collar has to stay up,
Yeah.
and then this collar has to. And technically, we have to have a neck stock, a bit of leather to go around the neck.
Yeah.
and have it made out of cloth or something. But, yeah. And like the shell jackets, they ended like very sharply about like here. And then
they didn't have the long skirts like the sack coats do.
Yeah, and then for some reason, we copied the French, especially with the hat.
The kepi?
Yeah.
So the reason why we copied the French is because the French basically got us started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were, a very well-renowned army.
Yeah, and in the Mexican-American War we had it was kind of like a peaked cap in a way, just like less.
The round cap.
Yeah, the round cap, very similar to like.
I think it's actually called a wheel cap, something like that.
Yeah, like a wheel cap.
I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, it was.
I'm gonna have to go to the Alamo.
Yeah.
I'm visiting all the forts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a fort here, so I said, "There's a fort here,"
Yeah.
so I'm going there.
Yeah.
Yeah, eventually I'm gonna make a round trip like that. Hit up a bunch of the sites around.
Gettysburg, Vicksburg, Sumter, all that. I came up from Florida. Well, I'm not from Florida, but I came Minnesota, South Dakota, down to Florida.
There's a couple of them up there if you really wanted to show them.
1850? Is that the 1850? 40s?
That the regulations changed, so they had to have short hair. There was a bit of opposition from it from like the old Revolution soldiers.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, this isn't in the best shape.
Yeah.
It can.
And we'll have better ones.
Yeah, it'll mostly suffice.
That's 1840s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's be better, but
And also, I think from the USM, I think this is for the Marines, but
I don't know if the Marines were here during the Mexican War.
I don't know either. But I don't know.
But there's water right there.
Yeah, maybe. Oh yeah, this is a better example of what they wore.
Would it be more, like you're doing, like push it up so that it would?
So you can actually see.
Yeah, like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just a little too long for him.
Yeah.
We'll find out when the Mexican War stuff arrives.
Yeah, and
Alright, go put it back.
Yep.
That was up there with the.
Yeah, with the
barracks.
1840s barracks. Yep. Gotta do this real quick. Okay, cool. Just making sure it was clear. The ting was the
ramrod.
metal ramrod hitting the metal of the back of the barrel.